The book of Genesis, the first book in the Bible, is a book about beginnings. It's where we get the foundational narratives of creation, the fall, the flood, and Abraham's call. It's where we learn about God's character and our relationship to Him. Most Christians consider Genesis 1 to be the beginning of everything, not just the beginning of the Bible. But what if we read it more carefully? What if we unpack this passage to see what it actually says? What would that look like? Let's take a look. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Now, this is a pretty grand statement. Everything that exists, everything that we see, feel, touch, and experience, all of it was created by God. And notice what the passage doesn't say. It doesn't say that God created the world and then took a little vacation, and now He has some break, and we readjust here on our own. No. The passage clearly states that God is the one who is still actively sustaining all things. He upholds all things by the word of His power, and so we can have confidence that He will be with us through all of life's ups and downs. And then it says that the earth was without form and void, and darkness was over the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the face of the waters. Now, some people have a hard time with this passage because they think that this part doesn't make sense or that it contradicts science. But let's remember that this is a poetic piece of literature, so we need to read it in context. This passage is explaining how creation came into existence. It's not a scientific textbook. The author isn't trying to explain the origins of the universe. He wants to show how God brought order out of chaos. In other words, God took something that didn't make any sense and He made it into something that did. And He did this over the course of 6 days. Each day He brought light into darkness, separated the waters above from the waters below, gathered the waters below into one place, causing the dry land to appear, and then filled the land with vegetation. The vegetation that would eventually become food for humans. And then on the 5th day, He created the animals, the birds in the sky and the creatures in the sea. And finally, on the 6th day, He created man. He created man in His own image, which means that from the very beginning, humanity was meant to have a close and personal relationship with God. So in the book of Genesis, we see that creation was no accident. It was a very big deal. And as Christians, we can rejoice knowing that we are the objects of God's affection. We are the recipients of His extravagant generosity. We are the beneficiaries of His love, and He continues to sustain us by the word of His power.